Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Thursday, April 30th, 2020. And our top stories today, America's financial fragility and picking up the pieces after the pandemic and a return to normalcy. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Angela Antonelli is the Executive Director of the Georgetown University Center for Retirement Initiatives. Angela, welcome to the program.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
Well, always appreciate what you at the CRI do, and always appreciate your insights into what's happening in terms of retirement policy. So let's jump right in. Obviously, we're in the midst, in the throes of this horrific pandemic, extraordinary circumstances affecting so many of our fellow citizens. I want to get your take on this, and then maybe we can talk about how this impacts retirement security, which I know is near and dear to your heart.
Sure. So I think the biggest thing, as we've been dealing with this horrible pandemic and the economic fallout, is that for a lot of us working on economic issues like retirement security, we were sounding the alarm even before COVID and the pandemic and the subsequent economic fallout. We were already sounding the alarm about how financially fragile so many American families are today. In doing that, things that we were talking about, for example, is, people don't have $400 to address a short-term emergency. They'd have to take out a payday loan or go to some family member. The levels of consumer debt, student loan debt that's strangling our younger generation, people really living paycheck to paycheck. So, while we're hearing a lot today and the president is saying, strongest economy before this all happened, well, the reality is one might question just how deep and rich that economic security really was pre-COVID-19, because we now see with what's happened, it's only helped to underscore and show that the alarm that we were sounding pre-COVID is indeed a reality, as we see so many Americans now losing their jobs, and in losing their jobs, how very quickly they're unable to pay their mortgages. We see, as part of the stimulus package, the need to get money out to these families, these cash infusions. We see the forgiveness and forbearance with respect to mortgages and student loan debt. So clearly, it only seems to show that given the actions government has now had to take in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, that clearly the alarms we were sounding about financial fragility are in fact the case. And the question is, now we're trying to deal with that. And what are the steps that we take forward as we emerge from this to maybe hopefully have learned something from this? Because shame on us if we come out of this situation and not learn and do some things that over the long term is really going to strengthen the economy. Because it's not just people having jobs, it's being able to pay their bills, to be stronger economically and from overall financial well-being perspective. And if we address some of these short-term issues, it's going to help strengthen retirement security in the longer run, because these are the things that are stopping so many families from being able to save for retirement today, before COVID, and now certainly retirement savings we're seeing even for those who do have retirement savings. What do we see in the stimulus package? It's allowing people to tap that retirement savings to be able to get through this period. So unfortunately, oftentimes the only savings people have is retirement savings. And what we're seeing now, as we saw in the Great Recession, is that retirement savings ends up being a rainy day fund. And we need to stop history from repeating itself. We need to think of a more holistic approach to building financial well-being, strengthening families, and by doing that, helping them to be better able to weather short-term economic traumas and have emergency funds to do that. And then by doing that, we're also going to, in the long run, protect long-term retirement security.
Yeah, I agree with the majority of what you said, Angela, or I agree with 100% of what you said. And we weren't in a good place before. And now, and I think you alluded to this, we have Americans we have 22 million Americans at last count, and we're filming this on a Wednesday, that or file for unemployment. And people now, we used to be talking about putting money away for a rainy day, putting money away for your golden years, whatever retirement looked like to you as an individual. But now people are just, as you said, trying to get the rent paid, trying to provide for their families, trying to pay the car payments, do all the things they need to do to really, in essence, just survive.
Right.
What, given, and we had, and it was only just yesterday, 2 months ago, we were talking about the Secure Act.
Right.
So how far off pace, and I should also note that you are the research director for CRI as well. So you wear multiple hats and you have a lot of expertise in looking at numbers and research. How far off do you think this pushes us back in terms of getting towards our retirement goal?
Well, I mean, obviously in the short term, to the extent that the stimulus package has and out of necessity, people, if they do have savings, again, retirement savings tends to be the savings that they do have. And, in this kind of financial stress, understandably, they need to have the ability to tap their retirement savings. And the stimulus packages provide for that and give that forbearance, the forgiveness of the various penalties and things like that if people need to do it. And sadly, we are seeing, it's very early. We're about, six weeks for most people into the lockdown at this point. But in talking with industry folks, record keepers and others, and seeing the reports from plan providers and plan sponsors, workers are tapping their retirement funds. And in the stimulus package, I mean, the cap there is $100,000. And I was having a conversation and rather shocked to hear how many have already tapped that $100,000. Obviously, number one, for people who do have retirement savings, the market volatility has obviously decreased the value of their accounts. So there is that issue. Then there's also, do they really need to go tap the accounts and take that money out? And we're saying that the answer is yes. I mean, I think we were already seeing somewhere along the lines of, for people who have, lost their jobs, about a third of them have already started to tap their retirement. And people will expect, I think it's upwards closer to 50% will expect to tap their retirement over time. To take that money out now is not just if they take $50,000 out, but it's that $50,000. How fast will they be able to replace it? And government, if they're allowing them to take it out quickly, in my view, another reform needs to be let them put it back, and as much as they can put back as fast as they can. So we need to be looking at those contribution limits. We need to encourage people to save. If they had to borrow, they need to be able to get it back. But I mean, if they've taken $50,000 out, think about what that compounded over 10 or 20 or 30 years, they've lost in terms of future retirement income. So they've lost that income. And, from a policymaker's perspective, it's a serious consequence for the economy because we're paying now for multi-trillions of dollars of economic stimulus, cash infusions to people, allowing them to tap their retirement accounts, the various, losses and tax benefits and that, to the government. We're paying now, but we'll pay later because all of the retirement savings that are going to be tapped, people won't have that income in retirement, and someone's going to have to pay for a growing number of elderly years down the road. Our entitlement programs are already enormous. So if you think about Medicare and Medicaid, we're talking about all of that now and the explosion of these entitlement programs. Think about that as we have demographically an increasingly aging population, the Great Recession, the Great Pandemic, attacking retirement plans. We're going to have an elderly population that really has insufficient retirement income, and someone has to pay for it. So we're paying short term. We're going to be certainly paying for it long term. But the impact on retirement security is incredibly damaging. And we need to understand that. And we need to not only do the things in the short term that allow people to tap those savings, but we need to make it as easy as possible in the future for people to put that money back and for employers to be able to cover their workers and allow them to save when the economy recovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Angela, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to Angela about some ideas she and the CRI, Center for Retirement Initiatives, may have in terms of potentially solving this horrific dilemma. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive FIBREX composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Angela Antonelli from the Georgetown University Center for Retirement Initiatives. Angela, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Thanks. I'm delighted to be with you.
So we laid out for the audience kind of what's happening and what the impact could be. And again, we will not know until years probably down the line. But let's talk about solutions, because we're a solutions-based network. We want to offer people opportunities. We want to offer policymakers, many of whom are probably watching this program now and watching because they're tuning in for you, Angela, to get your recipe for future success. So how do we solve this problem?
Well, when we talk about retirement savings, it's really a bigger economic issue and a bigger issue around the financial well-being of our families and individuals and workers today. So I think, again, we see what the consequence is of these economic shocks on retirement savings and the deterioration of retirement savings. How do we move forward as we come out of this and protect retirement savings over the long term so that people have that future security while also in the short term improving overall financial well-being? And I think we really need to come out of this crisis with the lessons that we will take from this and the damage that's been done. And from that, we need to have a more holistic approach to savings in a way that helps us protect retirement. What does that mean? That means we need to be thinking about things like how can employers, fintech, the use of technology and tools be more readily available and accessible to individual and workers to help in terms of emergency savings, that immediate liquidity. I mean, as little as $250 in emergency savings can help someone, be able to pay their rent, to get through a short-term period or crisis. And so we need to help facilitate emergency savings. Today, we are fortunate because we already see, leading into the pandemic, that plan sponsors, plan providers, those of us in the policy and think tank community working together to talk about emergency savings. Consumer debt, student loans. The explosion of debt is enormous. As Bridget Madrian from Harvard said, look, if you want people to save, you want to make it easy for them to save. If you want employers to help workers to save, make it easy for the employers to help their workers save. If you want to make it harder to spend, make it harder to spend. And we have to focus on what we're going to be doing to reduce the levels of debt and how easy it is for people to access debt, which robs their ability to save for retirement. So emergency savings, reducing debt levels. We also see in the stimulus, right? Cash infusions going out to people. What are they also learning? Things that people have been talking about. Some people are unbanked. How do you get money to these folks? So we see the breakdown in the financial system, particularly for lower income individuals. How do we address that as we go forward as well, so they're more engaged? And if they're more engaged, we can help them in the short term and then also help them in the long term with retirement security. But then also, again, what we spend time on at the Center for Retirement Initiatives here at Georgetown is retirement security. So again, if we can help people be financially better off, reduce debt levels, help them have that liquidity and emergency savings that they need, help them be part of financial institutions and tie in and take advantage of technology, maybe we can protect retirement. But we need to expand access, because half the private sector workforce going into this pandemic didn't even have a way to save for retirement. And again, as I said, retirement savings is often the only savings people have. Yeah. So there are lots of tools that are out there. You know that we've been working with states to help with the expansion of state facilitated retirement savings plans. We have the Secure Act that now, through its reforms, allows for greater opportunities to explore the use of multiple employer plan arrangements. So unlike the Great Recession, as we come out of the recession of the Great Pandemic, there seem to be more opportunities and tools that we were already building up to address those alarm bells I talked about at the beginning and help people save for retirement. So I'm optimistic that there are options that are out there. What we don't know is how bad the effects of this economic shock will be with respect to coverage and access. Will it deteriorate it further? If small businesses that had plans go out of business, those workers don't have access to ways to save for retirement. How many plan terminations are we going to see? So we have these options that are out there that we've been building to be available to people. I think the question is, we recognize there was already a serious problem with access to ways to save for retirement. The question is, how many more workers, as we emerge from this, because of any damage to small businesses, even medium-sized businesses, with respect to providing their workers, they had retirement plans, how much loss is there that we then also, once again, need to fill? Did the hole get even bigger?
Yeah, I think that's a real potential pitfall that we're going to see. We have 70 million individuals in this country, I believe that was the latest number I saw, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, that do not have access to these 401k type programs. That means they can't save at the same rate that, in an IRA, they have access to an IRA, but you can only save up to a certain threshold. It's like 1/3 of what you can save in a 401k plan. So being able to provide parity to people certainly is very important. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Angela, is in the short run, we've seen a lot of these small businesses and even larger companies dial back their matching contribution or employer contribution. That's disconcerting as well, but they have to keep the lights on, so we understand why that's probably occurring. The question is, and we saw this in 2008, does that come back? And it did, but it took a little bit longer to bring that back.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll have to wait and see how severe the fallout's going to be. When we talk about the lack of access and the 50 to 70 million and different numbers out there, but a lot of people going into this pandemic and the economic shock that didn't have access to a way to save, most of those folks were folks that worked in small businesses. Because often it's too costly and administratively burdensome for them to have had their own plan. So for those that did have their own plans, this economic shock, what is it going to mean for them? So we'll have to see, again, does the hole get bigger? But again, coming out of it, we do have the Secure Act. We do have the reforms there with multiple employer plan arrangements. Can that help get small businesses back on track and other businesses back on track? But what I'll also say is the state facilitated plans. There are thousands of workers in Oregon and Oregon Saves, Cal Savers, Illinois Secure Choice, coming online with Maryland and Connecticut, in Vermont and in Massachusetts, where, 18 months ago, so before all of this happened, there were thousands of workers who started to save who didn't have a way to save before that. One of the other things that I think we're going to see is, how much did it help reduce the financial stress for those workers who were able to accumulate some savings? And the reality is those programs are on standby and communicating with their savers, saying, we're there for you. And once we come out of this as well, the state program, Oregon Saves is there, Cal Savers is there, Illinois Secure Choice is there. So one of the benefits, I think, also is the ability to get, when the economy starts to recover, and once we sort of see what happens with small businesses and the damage with respect to coverage and access, those plans are there, ready to go right away and get people saving again quickly. If a business terminates a plan, the likelihood it's going to start its own plan again is not going to happen very quickly. No. So in some respects, again, the private sector, along with these state facilitated plans, I think there's a beauty to the fit that exists there now that people hopefully will see even greater value, because these state plans are going to be able to help people get started saving more quickly. They're IRAs, and as we've always said, they can always be a bridge back to a 401k and a more robust retirement savings plan. So I think there's a beauty in that this all will complement each other. And I think because those options are there, the positive or the ray of sunshine is, in this darkness as we emerge from it, we can hopefully get people back to saving more quickly because there are more options for them. And I think the state programs will play a critical role in that now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I know that they're talking about in the stimulus package for phase 4, they're talking about infrastructure. And I would agree with you that I think a lot of the infrastructure as it relates to retirement security in terms of the states and other apparatus seem to be there, but it's all going to come down to the implementation. Angela Antonelli, always great to get your perspective and to see you and speak with you, and wish you and your family and the team at CRI a lot of safety and great health.
Jeff, keep up the great work. Thanks for having me, and you and your family stay well through all of this. Hopefully the sunshine will come soon.
Thanks. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.